Hello, it's 9 o'clock. It's Friday. It's the 21st day of May 2021. I am your grumpy guide to all things gaming, the OG GM. I'm tired and I need a haircut, and you don't care. And we have some news from our favorite people in the world, Wizards of the Coast. Has a bunch of news just came across the interweb. And I say news lightly because it's mostly not news, with the tagline of being news, with typical Wizards of the Coast shenanigans of saying nothing while saying a lot. So, the first news we have is that Dungeons & Dragons Wizards of the Coast Hasbro has announced that 2020 was the best year in sales they've ever had. And that, once again, most of Hasbro's money in 2020 came from Wizards of the Coast. Probably Magic the Gathering. So yes, Wizards of the Coast made Hasbro money in 2020. In other news, water is wet. In addition, we have some news on the forthcoming D&D TV show being written by the gentleman who wrote the John Wick films. And the news is that there is no news other than it might be about our boy Drizzt, the mopey, emo, overpowered drow elf. Might be. But then again, it might not be. In other lack of news from the people of Wizards of the Coast, they have announced that with Ravenloft be coming out and retconning all the problems, it says right here, Ravenloft book retcons all the problematic issues of Dungeons & Dragons of the past. No, it doesn't. They've announced that there's two more legacy universes that they might be releasing books for sometime in the future after today. They have not said what those books are or when they're actually going to be released. They have hinted that we're going to see at least one more title this year, maybe two. We are due at least one more Dungeons & Dragons Magic crossover. So now the speculations are what could be the legacy title that they're going to revisit and most likely ruin for 5th edition. The number one contender, of course, being Dragonlance, because they resolved their issues with the Dragonlance, Marcus Heiss and Tracy Hickman people earlier this year. As we know, they settled out of court for an undisclosed sum. And in return, the rights to Dragonlance are back in the laps of Hickman and Weiss and company. But that means most likely, if they were going to revisit a legacy title, that would be my first guess. I mean, I don't know if there's anything in Dragonlance that we haven't already seen. I mean, Minotaurs? Well, we've already got Minotaurs, don't we? Because of the Magic the Gathering books. Kender? I mean, we already sort of have Kender. They're just, and just crazy halflings. Some of the subclasses, like the Knights of Solomani, I don't know. Is there a market for Dragonlance? Of course, I wouldn't have thought there was a market for Ravenloft, but I guess I was wrong there. I still don't think that. I don't really know if there is a market for the legacy title, since the legacy players are not their target audience anymore. The next likely title, Greyhawk, but no, because I think the Greyhawk rights are still owned by Ernie and Luke. Maybe not. I don't know where the Greyhawks, who owns the Greyhawk rights. Would there be a market for Greyhawk, a 5th edition version of Greyhawk? Which leaves us with Spelljammer. They've hinted at Spelljammer in Dungeon of the Mad Mage. They've hinted at Spelljammer in Baldur's Keep. They've hinted at Spelljammer in Rime of the Frost Maiden. So yeah, Spelljammer is probably the top. Dragonlance next. Greyhawk third. Now, they've repeatedly said they won't revisit Dark Sun, which means, of course, Dark Sun's also in there, because they also said they wouldn't revisit Ravenloft, and they did. So Dark Sun could be in there. And Dark Sun's different enough that there might be an audience for it. I mean, post-apocalypse, weird psychic fantasy. it's different enough that if they ran with it, it could work. But this is Wizards, so I don't know. It's hard to guess what the fuck they're thinking. Anyways, in further non-news from our friends over at Wizards of the Coast, Matt Mercer has announced that the current Critical Role campaign, Mighty Nine, might be coming to an end sometime in the next whatever. So once again, Matt Mercer, the power behind Critical Role and the DM for both the Vox Machina and the current Mighty Nine campaign. The Mighty Nine campaign currently going on 400 hours, 136 episodes. Has announced that the current campaign might be coming to an end sometime soon. But don't worry, he says. Even though the campaign might be coming to an end, we haven't seen the last of the cash cow characters in the Mighty Nine because we can do one-offs and spin-offs and stuff like that. Now, will there be a new Critical Role Chapter 3 after this one? Or have we reached the end of Critical Role? I mean, everybody at Critical Role is pretty busy. They've all got lives. They've all made a lot of money off of Critical Role. Doing the show takes a lot of time and energy that they could invest in other things, especially since now they have their own production company. Could the end of Mighty Nine be the end of Critical Role? Or will we just see a new campaign in a couple weeks? So there we go. There's some Dungeons & Dragons not news. And the not news for Dungeons & Dragons, we may or may not know what the TV show's about. We may or may not know what the movie's about. We may or may not know what the next product is. And we may or may not be expecting the end to Critical Role's current storyline, The Mighty Nine. I think, if you go look at all this, true knowledge comes from knowing you know nothing, blathering from Wizards of the Coast. I think the current story from the physics world about the new wobbly subatomic muon particle that may or may not introduce the fact that there is a fifth force in physics, in the reality of physics. That's probably more reliable than this, even though the scientists are saying that, that thing we saw the muon proton do might be a new force, or it might not. We have to keep experimenting. I think that's more reliable than anything Wizards of the Coast has just announced, because I'm more willing to trust science and Neil deGrasse Tyson when he says things like, well, we may know or we may not know, as opposed to Wizards of the Coast saying things like, well, we might be doing something. And you probably won't like it, but we don't care. Thank you for the money. Yeah. Okay, well, it's my job to tell you the news. We don't have to appreciate the news. We can remain continuously confused by the choices Wizards of the Coast are making. But as long as it keeps making them money, I guess they don't care. I, for one, will not be spending any more money on Wizards of the Coast product. I have the products that I like. I will revisit them in other vlogs, including my love for Tomb of Annihilation, which, as I said millions of times, I think is the best, most D&D thing that Wizards of the Coast has done. It's not the best, because there's third-party stuff that's way better, but it's the most D&D thing that they've done, and I will explain why in another vlog. But until then, I am your grumpy guide to all things gaming. If you appreciate this content, comment down below, like, share, subscribe, support, help me hit 400 subs, 500 subs by August 4th. Probably not going to happen, but it's good to have a goal. Till then, I'm tired, so get off my lawn.